Did you know that Miami's cost of living is significantly higher than the national average? And here's what most people don't fully understand when you start planning to move here. The cost of Miami is not just the price of the home, it's the insurance, the flood risk, the traffic, the hurricane prep, and the lifestyle adjustments that do not show up during a long weekend visit. Now, let me be clear. I'm not trying to scare you away from Miami. I chose Miami. Miami is one of the most dynamic, international, exciting cities in the country. But Miami's not for everyone, and the people who do best here are usually the ones who move here with their eyes wide open. They understand the lifestyle, and they make a decision based on reality, not just sunshine, beaches, and no state income tax. I'm Milton Andrade with Polaris Advisors at Compass. I've been helping people buy and sell real estate in Miami for over 20 years. And on this channel, Miami Living with Milton, I try to give you the real conversation. So I want to walk you through 12 facts that you need to understand before moving to Miami. Some are manageable, some are annoying, and a few can completely change whether Miami is the right move for you. So let's get into it. Miami attracts people for very real reasons. No state income tax, warm weather, international culture, great restaurants, beautiful water, major business opportunities, and a lifestyle that feels very different from most American cities. You can have coffee in Coral Gables in the morning, meet clients in Brickell during the day, have dinner in Coconut Grove, and be on a boat in Biscayne Bay on the weekend. That part is real. But what you don't see on a weekend trip is the full-time version of Miami. That is why this video matters. Not because Miami is bad. It is not. But because Miami is expensive to misunderstand. So let's start with number 12, the public transportation reality. Miami is a major international city, but it does not function like New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., or even parts of Boston when it comes to public transportation. Most people drive here. Yeah, we have a Metro Rail. Yes, we have a Metro Mover. Yes, we have buses. But for most of Miami-Dade, you're going to need a car. And this surprises people, because they think Miami is a global city. I should be able to get around easily without driving. And in some very specific areas, maybe. But generally speaking, Miami is a car city. If your car is in the shop, your lifestyle gets complicated. If you live in the wrong location for your work, school, or daily routine, your life gets stressful quickly. This is why I tell relocation buyers not to just pick a pretty house. Pick the life around the house. Because in Miami, the location either makes your life easier every day or quietly wears you down. Fact number 11, the social integration challenge. Miami is incredibly social, but it is not always easy to break into. That may sound contradictory, but if you live here, you understand what I mean. There's a lot of events, a lot of cultural communities, a lot of professional circles, but Miami can also feel segmented. There is the finance crowd, the real estate crowd, the art and design crowd, and if you move here without existing relationships, it can take you time to find your people. Miami is friendly, but it is not always instantly deep. So if you're relocating here, especially from a place where you already have a deep community, do not underestimate the social adjustment. You may need to be intentional. Get involved in your neighborhood. Say yes to invitations. Build slowly. And also, be honest with yourself about what kind of social life you want. Because the Miami you see on Instagram is not the Miami most people live every day. Fact number 10, the hurricane preparation lifestyle. Everyone knows Miami has a hurricane season. But knowing about hurricane season and living through hurricane season are two very different things. From June through November, weather becomes something you pay attention to differently. You think about supplies. You think about shutters or impact windows. You think about flood zones. This is not every day, but it is part of the lifestyle. And it is one of those things that people do not fully process until they live here. For some people, it's manageable. For others, especially people coming from places where weather does not carry the same risk, it becomes stressful. The key is preparation. Understand your flood zone. And do not treat hurricane preparation like an occasional inconvenience. In Miami, it is part of ownership. Fact number 9, the parking economics. Parking in Miami is not just annoying. It can become a real cost. You may find a condo you love only to realize it comes with one space and you need two. Or the guest parking is terrible, or the second space is expensive, or every time you go out, you're paying valet. This may sound like a small thing, but it affects your lifestyle, especially if you're used to suburban living where parking is just assumed. In Miami, Parking is part of the real estate. It affects convenience. It affects resale. It affects your monthly costs, and it affects how easy your life feels. So when you evaluate a property, do not just ask how many bedrooms it has. Ask how many parking spaces. Fact number 8, the school decision. This is one of the biggest issues for families relocating to Miami. And I want to say this carefully. There are good public schools in Miami-Dade. There are also excellent private schools. But the school conversation in Miami is not something you figure out after you find a house. You figure it out before, because schools can completely shape your neighborhood search. Some families want to be in a strong public school boundary. Some want private schools. Some want a specific religious school. And once you factor that in, your housing map is going to change. I have seen families fall in love with a house and then realize the school commute does not work. Or the school they wanted has a wait list. Or the neighborhood they liked doesn't align with the school plan. So if you're moving with children, the school conversation should happen early, not after you're under contract. And this is a quick reminder. I have a Miami school guide linked in the description. It will help you start thinking through the school piece before you narrow your search too far. Because in Miami, the school decision and the housing decision are often connected. Fact number 7, the true cost of utilities. People expect Miami to be hot, but they do not always understand what that means for everyday utility costs. Your air conditioning is not a summer thing here. It is basically a lifestyle system because it's not just heat, it's humidity. And that humidity affects comfort. It affects air quality. It affects older homes. It affects mold risk. And if you buy an older home with an older AC system, poor insulation, older windows, or a roof that absorbs heat, you may feel it in your electric bill. In the Northeast, you may have high heating bills in the winter and lower bills in the spring or fall. In Miami, your AC can run most of the year. That changes the math. And again, this is the theme in Miami. The purchase price is not the full story. The monthly cost is the full story. Fact number 6, the traffic and commute reality. This is the one everyone complains about, but relocation buyers still underestimate it. Miami traffic is real, and it is not just about distance. It's about routes. It's about bridges. It's about highways. A 20-minute drive at 11 a.m. can become a 50 minutes at rush hour. And this changes your life. It changes whether you go to the gym. It changes whether you make dinner plans. This is why I always tell buyers, don't calculate the commute based on miles. Calculate it based on time at the actual time you'll be driving. Because the wrong commute can ruin an otherwise beautiful house. And for people relocating from high-tax states, especially if you are used to efficient trains or dense urban living, this can be a major adjustment. Miami gives you a lot, but it does not always give you easy movement. Fact number 5, the car insurance shock. This one surprises almost everyone. People research home prices. They research taxes, but many don't get an actual car insurance quote before moving. And when they get here and they realize car insurance in Miami can be very expensive, this is why I tell people to get real quotes before moving. Do not guess. Call your insurance provider and ask what your premium would look like in the actual zip codes you're considering. Because when you combine car insurance with parking, gas, maintenance, tolls, and traffic, transportation in Miami can cost more than people expect. Again, not a deal breaker for everyone, but you need to know it before you move. Fact number 4, the housing market reality. Miami is not one housing market. That is probably one of the most important things I can tell you. Brickell condos are not the same as Coral Gables single-family homes. Coconut Grove is not the same as Doral. Even with the same neighborhood, 2 buildings or 2 streets can perform very differently. That is why broad headlines about Miami real estate can be misleading. You may hear that inventory is up, that prices are softening, that buyers have more leverage. And that may be true in one segment. Then another segment may still be tight, competitive, and very resilient. The market is more balanced now than it was during the frenzy years, and that creates opportunity for buyers. But it also requires more precision. You need to understand inventory, days on market, seller motivation, insurance issues, building financials, assessment risk, and resale depth. This is where buyers can make good decisions, but only if they stop shopping like every property is the same. If you're relocating and try to narrow the search, I also have a Miami relocation guide link below. It is a good starting point before you start falling in love with homes online. Fact number 3, flood, and climate risk. This is one of the most important realities in Miami real estate. You cannot talk about buying in Miami without talking about water. Flood zones matter. Elevation matters. Drainage matters. Sea level rise matters. King tides matter. And the difference between one property and another can be significant. Two homes can be 5 blocks apart and have very different risk profiles. Two condos can look similar online, but one building may be a better protected, better elevated, better managed, or better prepared. This is not something to ignore or casually ask about at the end. It should be part of the analysis from the beginning. Because in Miami, water is not just part of the lifestyle, it is part of the risk. And the better you understand it, the better decision you make. Fact number 2, the insurance crisis. This may be the biggest financial shock for many buyers. Homeowners insurance in South Florida can be extremely expensive, and in some cases, it can determine whether a property is actually affordable. A buyer may qualify for the mortgage. They may love the house. The price may seem reasonable, and then the insurance quote comes in and changes everything. This is why insurance cannot be an afterthought. You need to evaluate insurability early. This is one of the reasons I'm so careful with buyers, because the wrong property can look affordable on paper and become expensive in real life. A good deal is not just a low purchase price. A good deal is a property that holds up after you understand the full cost of ownership. And fact number 1, the true cost reality. This is the one that changes everything. Miami can be an incredible place to live, but the full cost of living here can surprise people. And the problem is not always one cost. It is the combination. That is the real Miami cost reality. It is not just expensive, it is layered. And for some people, it's absolutely worth it. They love the lifestyle. They love the weather. They love the culture. They love the water. They love the freedom of Florida. But for others, the trade-offs are too much. And that is okay. Miami is not for everyone. The goal is not to convince everyone to move here. The goal is to help the right people move here right away. So before you relocate, do a complete budget. Not just the home, the whole lifestyle. That is how you make a smart decision. Because the families who thrive here are not necessarily the ones with the biggest budgets. They are the ones with the clearest expectations. They know what they're choosing, they know what they're giving up, and they know why Miami still makes sense for them. If you're seriously thinking about relocating, my Miami Relocation Guide and Miami School Guide link are below. And if you want to talk through your move, call or text me at 954-629-9952. I'm Milton Andrade with Polaris Advisors at Compass. This is Miami Living with Milton, and I will see you in the next video.